When it comes to UFOs, forget lights in the sky. The real mystery is in the physics. Because the way these craft move, the way they bend gravity, was predicted decades ago by a man who built the space age of America. Back to the transmission, my friends. You watch UAP Truth 33. I'm John, I'm your host. Today I want to talk about Hermann Oberth. And you guys might not have heard of him. Maybe you have. But he was a father of modern rocketry. He worked with Werner von Braun. We're going to get into some of the parallels between the claims that he made in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and modern day whistleblowers. And for nearly a century, one idea has quietly threaded its way through the history of UFO research. The possibility that unidentified craft use gravity itself as a form of propulsion. It didn't begin with modern whistleblowers. It began with one of the founding fathers of rocketry, Hermann Oberth, mentor to Werner von Braun, and one of the architects of the space age. Tonight we're going to explore Oberth's theories on UFOs, gravity manipulation, and time dilation. Yeah, time dilation. And compare them to what today's whistleblowers and elected officials are saying publicly. Hermann wasn't friends. He wasn't a conspiracy theorist. What he was one of three fathers of modern astronautics, alongside Goddard and Tsiolkovsky. But unlike most scientists of his era, Oberth openly stated that some UFOs were real, structured craft, and not of this earth. One of his most famous statements, which was preserved in multiple publications, is this: "Today, we cannot produce machines that fly the same as UFOs do. They are flying by means of artificial fields of gravity." Now, it wasn't a metaphor. Oberth believed UFOs were using gravity as propulsion, which would explain sudden right-angle turns, silent flight, extreme acceleration, and the ability to stack into larger craft like cigar-shaped motherships. In a 1954 lecture, Oberth also noted that legitimate UFO sightings showed acceleration no human could survive, implying a form of inertial dampening or time dilation effect. To him, these were not science fiction ideas. They were engineering clues. So stick with me. It's going to be a good show. This is the story of a rocket pioneer in the 1950s, a whistleblower in 2023, and members of Congress today, all describing the same impossible technology. This is the connection they don't want you to make. Oberth's core ideas included artificial gravity fields, like this gravity bubble. And this is something that we've been hearing a lot from people like Eric Davis, Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, even Tim Burchett, and Representative Anna Paulina Luna. And the fact that this is something that was stated so long ago and it's being continually referred to now kind of lends credence that this is an actual thing, that this is true. They've seen the radar, not only radar, sightings of pilots, combined with the radar data and satellite imagery, that these craft, whatever they are able to do these amazing feats, go from space to air to water without any, change in speed or structural damage to their craft. Alone shows that there's something going on that we don't quite understand, that kind of is defying our idea of physics, so what is it? And the fact that it's been going on for 70 plus years, and that this man, who was the father of our rocketry program, a mentor to Werner von Braun, it said this back then, and it's being echoed through time. What does it mean for this subject? Oberth's core ideas included artificial gravity fields. He believed UFOs generated their own gravitational fields, which allowed them to fall in any direction they chose. You know, basically they would create this gravity field, so if they needed to fall up, they could fall up because they were creating their own gravity. And two, the inertial dampening. If a craft creates its own gravity bubble, the occupants would not feel acceleration, which would solve the G-force problems. So, you know, these things are able to maneuver in ways that would cause a person to become jelly inside the craft. They don't have to deal with that because they're actually creating their own gravitational bubble. And then this draws into question the whole time dilation, which would be a byproduct. So if you're able to create this huge amount of gravitational field around you, time in this gravitational bubble would move at a much slower pace as time is flying past them to everybody else on the outside. And this was a idea that Einstein proposed in his theory of relativity. This is not something that's French. It's not sci-fi. So the time dilation as a byproduct, you know, the manipulation of gravity means manipulating space-time. Oberth suggested that extreme acceleration and maneuverability implied relativistic effects, time running differently inside the craft while time would fly by outside the craft. These ideas were radical in the 50s. Today, they sound eerily familiar. We're hearing this from modern day whistleblowers. We're hearing this from congressmen, congresswomen. So where does that leave us?
Theory is that they come from the past. So
interesting. Okay.
Coming from the future is too hard. The physics just don't seem to work out. But if you think about it in a certain perspective, like there's a question of where they come from. Like, do they come from Earth? Do they come from nearby? Do they come from really, really far away? Wherever they come from, you know, spatially, the question then is, okay, temporally, what is more likely, that they happen to have come from this particular instant in time, or the hundreds of millions or billions of years that existed prior to our existence? You know, that could be true if they were just like waiting around and then came over, you know, at some point. It could be the case if they are regularly surveying and have just been around for a long time. You could imagine a world where maybe the Earth hosted advanced civilizations a billion years ago and we just don't even know about them, and these are the remnants of that. I'm not betting on any of these. It's just that wherever they come from geographically, there's a very, very long tail of time. And also there's ways to travel forward through time very quickly. You know, if I create a very strong gravity distortion, I can have subjective time inside of that bubble passing very, very slowly relative to the time racing by outside of it. And so it's very believable that something from the distant past could come to our present. It's not really believable that something can come from the future back into our present. So that's my bet, is basically, given that there's been a lot more time before now than now, just probabilistically speaking, I think it's likely these things have been around for a very long time, and either spent a long time coming to us, or to themselves, subjectively, not much time at all.
Wow.
So the modern whistleblowers are echoing Oberth, right? They're echoing Hermann. In recent years, several public whistleblowers have testified under oath that recovered craft may use gravity-based propulsion or space-time warping technologies. While we won't speculate beyond what's publicly stated, the themes align with Oberth's early theories. Claims of non-human craft using advanced propulsion. Multiple whistleblowers have described craft that appear to bend space-time or exhibit inertial dampening, the same characteristics Hermann highlighted in the 1950s. Descriptions of right-angle turns, instantaneous acceleration, and silent flight match Oberth's observations of artificial gravity field behavior, because he saw the radar data, and he also, I'm sure, talked to witnesses. References to gravitational distortion or metric engineering, these modern terms map directly to Oberth's early speculation about gravity manipulation. So I want to explore the congressional statements, right? Let's shift the time. Members of Congress from both parties, right? Which never happens with any other issue but this one. You got people on the right and the left. both kind of saying the same things, right? UAPs demonstrate non-Newtonian movement. Some craft appear to defy known aerodynamic limits. There is a need to investigate transmedium travel. Whistleblower claims of advanced propulsion deserve inquiry. These are the things that Congress is saying. So they're taking it very seriously. And in the new documentary, Age of Disclosure, if you go watch it, the Secretary of State is telling you that this is real. Marco Rubio is telling you that this is real, that this needs to be investigated, that we need to get to the bottom of this. In other words, Congress is describing the same physics puzzle that Oberth described 70 years ago. And here's a striking comparison, right? Gravity-based propulsion, it's the idea that UFOs use artificial gravity fields, right? The modern whistleblowers' claims of space-time or gravity manipulation, and the congressional statements, the calls for investigation into non-Newtonian movement. So there seems to be this race between countries to get to the bottom of this technology. And it could change the world. You know, you got people like Stephen Greer that are saying that there's this 100 years of suppression of these technologies, right? And it's based basically on this need for these corporations to keep control of the petrodollar, right? Keep us dependent on oil and, you know, having to pay energy companies and huge gas prices at the gas pump. So there's something here. And if we can get to the bottom of this, we can figure this out. If we can somehow back engineer these craft, if we can get more eyes on the technology, if they do have the craft somewhere, maybe, just maybe, we can actually live on this planet without harming the planet. We can actually enjoy a new golden age. Could end hunger, could end poverty. Who knows? But the fact that Hermann Oberth was speaking about these things 70 plus years ago, and you're seeing these modern day whistleblowers and congressional leaders talking about the same thing today, it makes me really wonder if it's not true.
Forward with it because, you know, and the guys on the intelligence committee, I think, and gals, I think you have a few in there that just want to dissuade us from finding out what the real truth is. And I won't call them plants, but I think they're being used by some folks. They give false information and then they kind of laugh at you and me. But over 55% of the population of the United States of America thinks that we're not alone. And I think it's about time we pull the covers off this thing.
Anna Paulina Luna on the Joe Rogan Experience. Very interesting episode. I actually recommend people go and listening to all of it. But Anna Paulina Luna, one of the congresswomen who has been at the spearhead of a lot of the UFO, UAP inquiries, some of the whistleblowers, she made some interesting claims around that I'm going to return to. But first and foremost, you have a member of the United States Congress at the forefront on the UFO issue, making some absolutely extraordinary claims about things that she has seen. Now, claims are claims, and we need to see evidence, but at the very least, we can take it for what it is. Let's take a listen.
You said that you've seen evidence. Like, what kind of evidence have you seen?
I have seen photos. I have seen...
what have you seen photos of?
So I was in a skiff, and I can't discuss all that was in a skiff, but what I can tell you is based on the photos that I've seen, I'm very confident that there's things out there that have not been created by mankind.
It seems crazy that people have access to information that shows that there's something outside of us that is more intelligent, at least more capable than we are, and they hide it from everybody else.
So let's just, you know, sit on that for a little bit, is that I've seen photos that I'm very confident that there are things that are out there that have not been created by mankind. This is allegedly like in a classified setting. And I have been pushing on this. It is so complicated because at the same time, she did claim that some of the whistleblowers who we've spoken about here on this show, how they pretended to have the flu before they were supposed to show up for a briefing. Those people have now come out, at least one of them, Lou Elizondo, and he's spoken about how that's not true. true. So there even seems to be some intra-fighting within this relating to our previous block of messiness or whatever. And I'm not still quite sure exactly what's going on there. But at the end of the day, what Tim Burchett, and a few other members of Congress were pushing for were some of these briefings, photos, and other things that are said to exist. The difficulty on this is we have been hearing this now for quite some time, for years and years, right? I know how many times have I said here on the show, and it's becoming exhausting for people to say that people who have seen classified images of this or that have not yet been able. The documentation is released. Let's take a listen.
Do you think that it's possible that these are U.S. vehicles that are top secret?
I definitely think that there's a level of advanced technology that the U.S. government has. And I think that tech can be housed within the defense contractor realm. And of course, some information is going to be classified. But I can also tell you, and this might sound crazy, but based on our investigations and stuff that we've seen, okay, there is definitely something that I think would rival what we know currently with physics, and a tech that potentially is out there that we don't have the ability to reproduce, because it would basically be like dropping a cell phone right off back during the time of maybe caveman. So like we just don't have the tech to develop it yet. There's definitely something that I can tell you with confidence that exists that we don't know how to explain currently.
So when you say that
Listen, if you look at the UFO subject from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and even the 90s, right? The language has changed from today to then. The politics have changed. But the physics problem remains the same. So what does this mean? It means that one of the greatest scientific minds of the 20th century, a man who helped launch humanity into space, looked at the same flight characteristics we're seeing today and reached conclusions that modern witnesses and officials are only now beginning to discuss openly. Oberth believed we were being shown a technology far beyond our own. The technology rooted not in rockets, but in gravity, space-time, and the deep structure of the universe. And if today's testimony is even partially accurate, then the conversation Oberth started in the 1950s is only just beginning. Thank you for tuning in. You're watching UAP Truth 33. I'm John. Until next time, peace.